Alzheimer's disease is a neurodegenerative process that is the #1 cause of dementia in the world. The proteins that are most implicated in the disease process is amyloid beta and tau, and over time forms amyloid plaques and tau tangles that lead to progressive memory decline. Alzheimer's disease is a very difficult condition to diagnose. Incorrect diagnosis can occur in up to 30 to 50% of patients, particularly in the early stages of disease.
Joel Bronstein is the CEO of C2N Diagnostics in St. Louis. The company developed the PrecivityAD blood test. It's a diagnostic tool for the accurate identification of Alzheimer's disease.
That test takes a sample of blood. It comes to the C2N Diagnostics laboratory. Based on an algorithm that C2N developed, we combine a variety of biomarkers with a patient's age into a test result that we call the amyloid probability score, or the APS. Amyloid is one of the proteins that's implicated in Alzheimer's disease. And we've been able to validate that APS measure against known markers of Alzheimer's disease, like amyloid PET scans or cerebrospinal fluid markers. And we know that the blood test result can provide a very accurate indicator of the presence of amyloid pathology in the brain.
The blood test rolled out in 2020.
We were really the first group to be able to demonstrate through our collaboration with Washington University, who were the original inventors on some of the underlying technology, that one could actually use these blood markers to accurately identify the presence of amyloid pathology in the brain.
Bronstein says the test is important because it would be easily accessible and affordable. Blood tests may also allow for early identification of Alzheimer's disease, giving patients access to clinical trials, newly approved FDA drugs, and prevention strategies.
New preventive therapies that are being studied in clinical trials.
The test is used by interested clinicians across the United States and internationally.
We offer the PrecivityAD blood test under a regulation known as CLIA, refers to the qualification of a laboratory. C2N also has a breakthrough device designation with the FDA. In our lab here, we can process hundreds of thousands of samples, but the global need for testing goes well beyond what we're capable of doing just in St. Louis.
So C2N is developing partnerships with laboratories across the globe. The diagnostic tool would become broadly administered with FDA approval, which is the next step. Until then,
clinicians can go to our online portal and request the test. We provide a simple sample collection kit.
And recently, the biotechnology received an enormous boost. C2N Diagnostics raised $15 million to advance the technology.
GHR Foundation is a nonprofit organization that has been a major leader in supporting Alzheimer's-related treatment studies, prevention studies. GHR Foundation provided their original funding to C2N Diagnostics several years ago, and that original investment amount was for $20 million. Several months ago, we closed on an additional $15 million from GHR Foundation.
In part, C2N plans to use the money for the development of PrecivityAD2.
Using some of those resources to bring our next generation blood test to the market, which is known as PrecivityAD2. And that's a test that's going to not only be able to measure amyloid markers, but also markers that are implicated in tau tangle pathology, which is another protein component of Alzheimer's disease. And so the PrecivityAD2 test is our next generation test that represents a continued advance in innovation to improve diagnostic accuracy and be able to think about early and accurate diagnosis for patients.